I'd like to ask you, Todd Pigott, what is the biggest risk?
In my opinion, and I evaluate that all the time, what's our biggest risk? I manage $100 million right now, other people's money throughout our fund. What's the risk that I'm trying to avoid? I can predict the interest rates. I can look at the metrics provided by the GSA for portfolio performance and assess risk there. I can look at absorption rates and assess risk there. I can look at the borrower, got good cash down, got good credit, background's clean. I can assess risk there. My biggest concern of risk in what I do every single day, and I think if there's any time for this to happen, it's now. My biggest risk that I view as a potential threat to my specific platform is a calamity outside of housing that will cause housing or real estate to collapse. I believe that housing today is extremely safe. We have 1.8 months of inventory. We have constriction. We don't have a wave of foreclosures. We have a shortage of housing, and all these point to stability right now, except for little pockets here and there, down 5%. 99% of list prices under four. My biggest concern is a calamity outside of housing that will quickly affect housing. A terror attack, political dysfunction, a drop in our currency, war. Everybody can call me a crazy for these things, but I believe that in 2023, the chances of some type of calamity occurring outside of housing or real estate that will affect housing or real estate is likely. And I think that we're seeing some of that. We're seeing things happen politically, society, currency, or even globally. We're seeing things happen that we've never seen in our lifetime. And so I think if one of those events occurs, that would send housing into a spiral. And so here's how I look at this, though. That is something that I don't have control over. I don't know what's going to happen there. And if it does happen, I tell my investors this. Our worst scenario is that we have a cataclysmic event outside of housing that causes a deep decline in asset values across the nation, both in stocks and everything else. So what do? I tell them this. At least I've got real estate. I've got a home with a first position lien where a borrower with good credit put down 20%. I can get in my pickup truck and drive to that property, and we at least have that. So he bought it for 400. He put down 60 to 80. We're into it 320. We thought it was going to be worth 550, and the whole world fell apart. At least we can get in our pickup truck and drive to that property, and I've got a property that somebody has to live in. We will, freeze the fund, freeze it, and we will be renting those or holding those for cash flow as entry-level housing until that calamity starts to dissipate. So my investors are coming and say, what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is a calamity outside of housing. At that time, we would at least freeze the fund, and we would at least have assets that we would stabilize with renters for positive cash flow until that calamity dissipates. So that's how I plan on mitigating that risk threat. And I think that risk threat is potentially real, Something out there is going to happen 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, I don't know, that's going to cause a discourse and affect us. I don't have control over that. You don't have control over that. But the best way to protect about that is at least have some type of plan B or exit strategy, and we do.